Hey everybody. I just wanted to do a quick video about just general news. Has been a lot of going on in one little week. In terms of foreign policy, kind of meshing into like Drudge Report and normal everyday Trump America, politics stuff I really don't usually care about. I guess we could start with the death of Walter Jones, Congressman Walter Jones from North Carolina. If you're not familiar with Walter Jones, he became famous, and this is no disrespect to him, but nationally, people started to know who he was after he was the Freedom Fries guy, actually, during the run-up to the Iraq War. He was so into the Iraq War. He comes from a district in North Carolina that has the second largest Marine base in the country in it. So he was very pro jobs programs, Iraq War. After the vote and after people started coming home body bags, and he saw the cost and also what the reasonings were, he was a very devout anti-war activist in Congress. He would write letters continuously to the families of the deceased soldiers from his district. He's been reelected multiple times against the request of the Republican establishment. I've always tried to primary him unsuccessfully. He befriended Ron Paul, started following him around, not in any weird way or any not to disparage the guy, but that's what he'll tell you in his interviews. He started to eat lunch with Ron. He became friends with Ron, and then he ended up being on Ron Paul's chair of the Ron Paul Institute for Peace and Prosperity. Just a good old boy who was a good Christian and didn't want to have blood on his hands. So his penance were writing the letters to all the servicemen, and from then he was voting against every war, all of Obama's wars, all of Bush's wars, and all of Trump's wars. So dead at 75. Sucks. I just wanted to mention his name. I'll link to an article about him written by from a journalist I like. But you can also look him up, Walter Jones. From there, I guess a little update on Syria, the withdrawal. It sounds like Trump's gone back on his word, I guess you could say. So he's reneged on his renege. And it sounds like we're going to be out by April. Let's see. I don't believe it. And the withdrawal will begin within weeks. Well, weeks could be months. So, again, we'll see. It's going to depend on what it looks like on the ground, where the Kurds are at, what Israel thinks, and what kind of deal we can get with Turkey to not go in there and slaughter people, because that would be bad PR. But it looks like we're going in that general direction. I feel like Bolton's on board with getting out of Syria as long as Trump goes after Iran hard and Venezuela, which is bad, but I don't know. That's just the way it is. And then finally, and this is the Drudge Report crap, this congresswoman, this loudmouth from, I guess, Wisconsin, Missouri, no, not Missouri, Minnesota, somewhere up there, the Muslim lady, I don't know her name, that's why I don't want to get anything wrong. Ahmed Oman, I don't know her name. I don't really care. She is a politician. I don't care. But what's interesting is she's in the news. She's been all over the news. Trump's using her as a punching bag along with she came in with Cortez. So Cortez had a bad week with her stupid green plan, which allows people who don't want to work economic security and is terrifyingly authoritarian. But she's been embarrassed. So another member of her elite squad of new congresswomen, she didn't really run her mouth, but they're making her out to be a loudmouth. I guess she is a loudmouth in other respects, yelling about Trump and F this and F that. But on this, all she simply said was she was in a conversation with Glenn Greenwald, who I highly respect, and he just mentioned a common provable thing to anybody that's involved with following foreign policy news on both sides. You can disagree about it, but no one argues the existence of it. Grant Greenwald was talking about the Israel lobby, AIPAC, and the money that they get, and the influence they have, the major influence they have over the foreign policy in America. That's not up for argument. That's not anti-Semitic. It's just facts. They'll tell you that. I mean, you can watch the AIPAC meeting streaming online. It's just common knowledge. So all she mentioned was AIPAC money is bad for politics. It pushes the debate, and they have influence over the Congress people. So then it got spun, of course, because now we're going after the Democrats. Election season has kicked in, and we're using this freshman class of congresswomen and men to embarrass the Democrats because the old guard is freaking out because these progressives are coming in. So for the Republicans, we're just making sure that they're just divided and conquered, and Trump can just run at them from the left on war and social programs, which he'll probably roll out an infrastructure bill or something like that soon. So they go after her. Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, CNBC, everything. Proving the point, and was making somebody like me just nod my head. This is what was going to happen. She's an anti-Semitic person, is what they called her. She was saying that Congress people only like Israel because of the money, so then it means they must only like Jews because of the money, and that's what she was insinuating. When she was just making an obvious it's like that guy from CNN that got fired, that Hill guy. He just makes she's anti-giving money to the Israeli government. And she doesn't think that they should have an influence over our politics, to the point, and I've reported on this, that there's a bill that our congressmen are pushing that would make it a felony with a $250,000 fine and maybe jail time for an American citizen, a business owner, to boycott Israel. Our congressmen are pushing that. A violation of our, First Amendment rights is being pushed by our congressmen that are supposed to represent us, that we can't boycott a foreign country. But we're supposed to ignore the influence there that makes them do that. And that's all she was pointing out. So she's backtracked a little bit since then, but she has said, and she's standing firm on, hey, AIPAC is a problem, which I agree. But it's interesting that her point was proved. The influence that they have is so broad over, and this is the establishment. People get angry and they say, "Oh, no, we're the money." It's the same way we have the Russian collusion scandal, which is completely, and we found that out today in the news. Is they've admitted they got no direct evidence, nothing. It's going to go away. Mueller's just going to give up and not make any statement. The same media apparatus that pushed that narrative, the mainstream news and all the way to Jimmy Kimmel, does the same thing with the Israel thing. But on the ground, everyday human beings are rational enough to understand the separation between the government of the Israeli state and the people there. And then also, there's just treat them like every other country, and we can't have them influencing our... Because that's what the people are saying. Oh, well, is she getting upset about the Saudi Arabian government influencing our elections? Probably. But, we didn't invade Iraq for them. We fought Syria for them, and we let a genocide happen in Yemen on their behalf. So, yes, there was influence all around, but this was one of those situations where I find myself aligning with Trump supporters, the right, more and more and more, because that's where the anti-war is, and that's where the more freedom idea of I can say what I want, and I can do what I want, and you're not going to come in and start violating my rights and stealing my money and my speech, which is what the left is doing. But this is where I part with them. I don't have a blind spot for one country. I think we should not give any money to any countries, as I don't think our government should extend that far. I just also, And if someone's going to tell me we can't give foreign money to Venezuela because it's run by a dictatorship and the horrible things they do to their citizens, I would like to bring up the things that this government does to their citizens and why we shouldn't give them money. That's it. It's not a special case. It's just the special case is that we're not allowed to talk about this case. And that's what makes it special, and that's what makes this happen to a congresswoman, where everybody around her just denounces her, and you kind of like Walter Jones and a Ron Paul, you don't get to play anymore. So if I was her, I would go hitch my wagon to Tulsi Gabbard, see how she feels about that, and, run campaigns directed towards the people that don't get their news from the idiot box, because the idiot box was wrong last time. There's a paradigm shift happening, and I think if these Congress people go directly to those people, they have a better chance. That's how Cortez got elected, as terrifying as it is. CNN watchers did not get her elected. So that's really the news. Those are pretty big deals. I don't know what we're going to talk about this week on the decentralized news podcasts that we have, the episodes. I'm sure we'll bring up the Mueller investigation and how that's miraculously ended and now nobody apologizes about anything. That's just weird. But of course, I'm still a Nazi for saying 2 years ago that this was all just bullshit because we can't have better relations with Russia. That'd be bad for the establishment. And that's what all that was about. It wasn't even really about Trump. We have that. We have, in my opinion, Walter Jones dying is kind of a big deal. But just the news has kind of picked up a little bit. We have the shutdown coming up. If you care about that, I don't. But I'm sure we'll talk about the shutdown and Trump's little Twitter battle. Now, this keeps escalating with this girl and her comments about AIPAC. At least they're shining a light on it, and we'll see how that shakes out in the media. I don't think anybody's going to touch it, not even Tucker Carlson or who's on the other side. I mean, Jimmy Dore will do it on the internet, but nobody on the major networks was allowed to do that. So that's really just news and notes from the day. I had a little bit of a snow day here in New Jersey, so as you can see, I've had a couple videos come out today. Feel free to check us out over at Decentralized News, the website, decentralizednews.com or net, I'm not sure. I'll have all the links below because, again, it's been a while since I've done videos. I'll have all the links below. Anything I talked about, I'll have linked over at the WordPress website, voluntaryexchange.com/WordPress or whatever. Just Google it, it comes up. And also on the Steemit, I'll have that all linked. If you don't want to watch a video, I'll try to do a little bit of a write-up. But the links, really, just read the sources and learn for yourself. With that, have a good night, everybody, and I'll see you next time.